Hey guys, it's Sithlore. Welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about the Crippling Wave skill, which generates 7 spirit per attack, so 1 more than both Fists of Thunder and Deadly Reach. It still does 110% weapon damage, just like the other two skills. What this skill does is it's more like the Cleave ability, where it's got a relatively short range, but like the Cleave ability, does AoE damage because it's not just a single target, it's going to impact anyone within that range. And so that's the major difference between this and Fists of Thunder. It's got a lot shorter of a range than Deadly Reach does. The other advantage of this skill is the fact that for any enemy hit, you're going to slow their movement speed by 30%, but going to slow their attack speed by 20%, which in my opinion is much, much more beneficial than the reduced movement speed. So here's what it looks like. Like I said, it's got that AoE type ability as a result of hitting multiple enemies that are all within melee range. So the first rune is Mangle. It's much like the base skill. The only difference is that it increases the damage by 30%. So instead of doing 110%, you are now doing 143% damage. And so that should have shown you kind of the range that this has. So now that we've got an elite pack, let's see what this thing can do. So it does a fair amount of damage. As you can see, I'm able to take out that pack without much effort whatsoever. Yeah, I did have to use some of my other skills, but was never in any serious health situation as a result. So let's change up the runes. So Concussion is the next rune. Now, this sounds like a really, really good defensive rune, and it is a good defensive rune. For any enemy that you hit, they reduce the damage done by 20%. So if an enemy was going to hit you for 100, once you've hit them, then they will only hit you for 80 instead of 100. So it is a great defensive skill. The disadvantage is, unlike something like Ignore Pain, which reduces all damage, this is only reducing the damage of those enemies you've hit. So in this type of a situation, that's not bad, because all of these are melee monsters, and so they're only going to hit you when you're in melee range, or when they're in melee range. And because of the fact that I have a sweeping AoE type of ability, most of the monsters that are in range I'm going to have hit. Where this skill does not bode to be overly advantageous or be helpful at all is when you're dealing with ranged enemies, because the ranged enemies are going to continue to hit you from a range distance, of course, and so since they're hitting you and you haven't hit them, you're still taking the full amount of damage. So those are the enemies that you really need to worry about when using this skill. So the next skill is Rising Tide. Well, just like the other two primary skills that we went over, this also has a rune that allows you to increase your mana. Well, Fists of Thunder, for every critical hit, you gain 15 spirit. For Deadly Reach, it's 10, and this one is 5, because of the fact that this is more of an AoE ability than any of the others. Well, personally, I think the odds of having 3 enemies near you at all times is minimal compared to something like Deadly Reach. And so as a result, when I said Deadly Reach, I meant Fists of Thunder. So I don't recommend using this rune. I think if you're trying to, again, deal with a spirit intensive build, I would rather go with something like Fists of Thunder, which is going to be a higher attack speed and in addition to the higher attack speed, you'll also be generating Fury or Spirit at a faster pace. This is not helping me, this ability is not helping me very much whatsoever in this elite battle, and unlike the other rune choices, I'm having much more difficulty surviving this battle than I did in the other ones. Even though it's some of the same type of abilities, the only thing that this one has is Arcane compared to the last battle. So I was able to survive it, but like I said, just more of a challenge. So not a rune that I recommend, but I guess it could have its place if you really wanted to use it. So Tsunami is the next rune choice. This extends the range of the third attack only, and so by extending the range, of course, you're going to be able to hit some more enemies. But the other thing that this rune does is it reduces the movement speed by 60% rather than by, and actually it doesn't extend the range very much. It says it's increased to 17 yards, but I definitely wasn't seeing it there. So the other thing that it does, as I was saying, was increases the movement speed reduction. Well, since you've got to be pretty close range, so you can see he's moving pretty slowly as a result. Well, unless you're doing a kiting type of build, which I'm not sure what abilities the monk has that would help with that, the movement speed isn't overly beneficial because it's not reducing their attack speed, it's only the movement speed. So enemies are going to be hitting you just as often, even though they're moving slower. The final rune choice is Breaking Wave. Just like Deadly Reach, this is a rune that will increase all damage done for 30 seconds, but Deadly Reach increases all damage done by 18%, whereas this rune choice is only by 10%. So if you were using this for the increased damage, go with Deadly Reach. So anyways, guys, that is the Crippling Wave rune or skill and all of the runes associated with it. Any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thanks, guys.